What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Farzy Show. My name is Marc Farzetta. This show is presented by Destination Retirement, DestinationRetirement.com. And as always, it comes to you from the Steven Singer Studios. A nice bounce-back win, walk-off win for the Philadelphia Phillies. And as if you needed to know that the magic was back in any better way, Matt Vierling is the one to really put the Phillies in a position to win that ball game. Yes, Rhys Hoskins had the walk-off, but of all people, Matt Vierling, yet again, like he got the back-to-back home run started off against the Brewers last week. This week, he gets a little, I don't even call it a rally, but he gets the good vibes going in that ninth inning last night as they get the win over the Miami Marlins. I am overjoyed with that win. And I don't know if there could be a better way to start a series against this particular team than to get that walk-off win. Sure, 10-0 is always nice. I know this is relaxing. The Aaron Nola complete game, shutout. Yeah, that'd be nice. But no, I'll take 7 strong from Aaron Nola. I'll take Rhys Hoskins getting the walk-off. I'll take Kyle Schwarber coming up with the multi-hit game. That's what I'll take. And that's exactly what the Phillies did yesterday. And, I knew the Phillies were bad. We all knew the Phillies were really bad in the division. I didn't realize that they were dreadful. Going into yesterday's game, they were 6-14. in the division. 6-14 before yesterday's win. The good thing here is that they'll face another team that is pretty bad in the division later on when they have a 5-game series, including a doubleheader with the Washington Nationals after they wrap up this 3-game set with the Marlins. But the Nationals are 5-18 in the division as of right now. So the Phillies will face another team that's been pretty bad in the division, but hopefully by then the Phillies won't be as bad in the division. And we'll let you hear from Rob Thomson coming up in just a second because he talked about his message to the team before this game. We'll also let you hear from Rhys Hoskins, a little nugget he dropped post-game that I was like, interesting. The confidence level of this team is high, as it should be, as they've won 10 out of their last 11. But albeit, they got to win games in the division. And that's what started up yesterday against a team that has absolutely had their number. Now, the Phillies, they still had their struggles, especially in that 8th inning. You had a trouble with JT Realmuto, who stepped to the plate with runners on, and he grounded into a double play. They were able to get a run to cross the plate. Fortunately, when Didi Gregorius had the RBI double down the line, that was able to play at the game-tying run. So that made you feel, or at least get the Phillies to that game-tying run. Let me at least get the Phillies back into a chance to walk it off in the bottom of that 9th inning. So for me, it was a huge, huge win. And the way they went about it was interesting. Offensively speaking, Sandy Alcantara last night kept the Phillies' bats at bay through the vast majority of this game and pitched himself out of some jams here and there. And for the most part was keeping guys off balance and was doing a great job for the mound overall. He has had the Phillies number as well. He's a big reason why the Marlins have done so well against the Phillies as of late. But the Phillies held out. They got into that bullpen finally in the 8th inning. And as soon as they made that switch, that's when they started to have a little bit of an offensive turnaround. Not an explosion by any means, but at least a little bit of an offensive turnaround. Nola, I thought, had a great game. I'm still curious as to what would have happened if they would have challenged the runner that stole second base in that 7th inning, I want to say. That was interesting to me because Bryce Stott was very sure from the get-go that he got the out. Check that. Phillies apparently didn't want to challenge it, didn't want to check it, really, and decided to keep him on second base, decided to keep the play the way it was. No challenge. And then, of course, as fate would have it, that run ends up biting you in the ass as the run scores, and you're down 2-1. Phillies, of course, able to bounce back from that, which is great. But overall for me, whenever I watch the Phillies, and whenever I've watched them over the last couple of years, especially the last 10 years that they haven't made the playoffs, we all wait for those moments to let you know that this team is going to do something. This team is going to break out into something. First off, they've done it already by winning 10 of 11. Second, when you're starting to get help from guys like Bryce Stott, from guys like Matt Vierling, Alec Boehm is another one who has come around as of late. Got the day off yesterday. Matt Vierling got the start. But I'm talking about overall, the last 11 games the Phillies have played. When you see the unlikely heroes start to surface as often as they have surfaced, when you see I'll reference Nick Castellanos and his one of his good plays as of late, which was the check swing RBI double. Didi Gregorius had a check swing RBI double in Milwaukee. When you see these little things come out, and every night it seems like who can be the hero? It's not just going to be Bryce Harper hitting bombs for you. It's not just going to be Kyle Schwarber hitting bombs for you. It's not going to be just Aaron Nola or Zach Wheeler getting it done from the mound for you. Other guys that aren't the big name guys have stepped up to provide a little bit of that magic. And that's really what you got to rely on throughout the rest of this season. And that's why when we got into yesterday, the conversation on Nick Castellanos, for the most part, had the day off, had a pinch hit appearance. But he's a guy that I think will eventually come around. You're going to get good numbers from Bryce Harper. You're going to get those home run numbers from Kyle Schwarber. You're going to get a decent on-base percentage from Kyle Schwarber. That's all. I can rely on that. I think Rhys Hoskins is going to turn it around as well. And maybe last night was a good start in that. I think Bryson Stott's going to give you some good numbers as well. But when you get guys like a guy like Matt Vierling stepping up for you, it lets you know that you're going to have other guys who will take that load off the big names back. Now, the big name guys that get paid all that money, they shouldn't mind the workload. No, they shouldn't, but they're still humans. And it's nice to know that even if you don't have it one particular day, somebody else can step up and fill a role for you to pick you up while you have that day off. And I thought Matt Vierling was the guy to do that for the Phillies last night. And I know our friend Matt Breen has written a story on it, and I haven't read it yet, to my own admission. But I got to say, him with the Car Shield commercials, I can't get enough of them. It reminds me of the Eric Kratz Godshall the turkey bacon commercials. I just need more of it for whatever reason. I don't know why. I just need more of it. So hopefully Matt Vierling will have a whole line of commercials from Car Shield, and we can all just talk about that for a second. But in all sincerity, yesterday's win, I can't stress it enough. It wasn't just because they got drubbed the night before 13-1 or the afternoon before 13-1. It was a divisional game against a team that has had their number. The Marlins, by the way, it's not just the Phillies that they've been beaten up on, because this is the fifth game this season that they played the Phillies. The Marlins this season are 15-8 against the NL East. So it's not, for whatever reason, the Marlins seem to have most teams' numbers in this NL East. The Phillies are certainly one of them. And hopefully last night was a changing of the guard, a turning of the tides for the Philadelphia Phillies. Alcantara last night, last night was brilliant in the ballgame. He, like I said, went 7 2/3 and just dominated for the most part. Did not want to come out of the game, was fighting tooth and nail to come in, to stay in the game, and he unfortunately lost that battle, and that's when Didi Gregorius stepped up and came up with that RBI double, which was just great to see. Should be RBI single, which was great to see. Wanted to get one more number on Alcantara. 7 2/3. Only five strikeouts he had last night, which was just a great game for him. He lowered his ERA to 1.68. Nola, 2 earned runs in 7 innings of work, just to give you the numbers on those two. I mentioned Rob Thomson earlier. I feel like Rob Thomson, again, has just given this game back to the players. Instead of trying to maybe micromanage a little bit, he's allowed these players to really take the reins as the leaders. All right, he's allowed a guy like Castellanos to try to coach up the young guys. He's allowed Bryce Harper to really let his personality loom over this clubhouse, and ultimately, I think that's what they really needed. It's not so much that Joe Girardi was some terrible manager. I think it was just maybe he was a little too hands-on. I'm Joe Girardi, I got to justify my name type of thing. And look, the guy's been a winner throughout his career. Good for him. But for whatever reason, it just wasn't the right fit here in Philadelphia. I think the players needed to take more accountability and more ownership of their actions, and that's what they have done. Rob Thomson, I thought, set the perfect message to this Phillies ball club before this game, and here's what Rob Thomson had to say.
I talked to the guys before the game about we need to start winning games in our division. It's big, We've beat some teams that, LA was kind of scuffling at the time, and we fed off of that and beat a first-place team in Milwaukee. And I said, we got to start winning some games within our division. That's what good teams do. So that's a good start. And we've got, starting today, we have 8 straight within our division. So it's big.
It's huge. And it's not so much the message there as to, hey, guys, these are all divisional games. We got 8 games in 7 days. Let's hunker down here. It's not that. It's not just that it's the division. That's not just what stood out to me about that cut. The fact that he downplayed beating the Dodgers is what I love. The fact that it also happened before he took over, obviously, as a Phillies manager. Yeah, we beat the Dodgers, but they were kind of struggling at the time. We took care of business, but they weren't the strongest opponent. I love that. That gives me joy to just hear that. But they went, yeah, it was the Dodgers, but hey, anytime you take 3 or 4 from the Dodgers, I throw a party. But right now, I just love the idea of that was then, and they weren't playing their best baseball. We got them at a good time. Then they came here and took care of business against us. Doesn't mention that, though. Now is the time that's going to matter down the line this season. Now is the time. 8 games in 7 days, all against NL East opponents. Again, it's only 2 of them, but they're 2 opponents in the next 8 days that you should take care of business against. Like, I was thinking about this for our Versus Game sponsor. I wanted to ask something along the lines of, will the Phillies at least go over 500 in their next 8 games? And like the way the time period worked on it, it just wasn't going to work out for me to ask the question. But I'm thinking to myself, they got to win at least 5 of these games. They need to win 6. I want to be blown away by the end of this week. By Sunday night, I want to be looking at the record and they go, oh, damn, wow, they swept the Marlins? They took 3 of 5 from the Nationals. Like the team that I feel like they should underperform against is always the Marlins. But after last night's performance, I'm feeling a little bit more confident. After the last 11 games, I'm feeling a little bit more confident that maybe they'll ride some momentum in this series at least. Then they got to go on the road for the 5 games against the Nationals. The next 8 games, how many games do you expect them to win? They won last night, so that's 1 in your pocket. They're going to win the next 7 straight. They're going to put together a nice long winning streak here as well. Oh, that'd be something. All of a sudden, you're looking up in the standings going, oh, wow, look at those standings. The Phillies all of a sudden 8 games over 500. What? Yeah, I'd love to see it. How many games do you think this Phillies team could win? I think, realistically speaking, without being too much of a homer, I feel like this Phillies team is going to win 6 games of their next 8. I don't see them losing more than 2 games. I feel like they have 1,000 times different mindset than what they had. I feel like Joe Girardi's Phillies would underperform. That's how, in all honesty, how I feel. And that's not so much a rip on Joe Girardi, even though it really sounds like it is, as much as it is the players, just like I said, taking ownership for what they have done so far this season. And being in more control, I think, of the outcome of these games without a manager tinkering nearly as much. So for me, I look at this and I say, no reason the Phillies can't go 6-2 in the next 8 games. Now 7. They got 1 in their back pocket. So right now, can they win 5 more games of their next 7? I got confidence that this team can do it. There's going to be one clunker in there. There's going to be another one that maybe they lose, by some controversial ending. I don't know. Last night was almost it. I thought Bryce and Stott had that tag at second base in the 7th inning of last night's ballgame. Didn't go that way. And it could have obviously greatly affected the outcome of that game. But when you look at this stretch, it's a wildly important stretch for this Phillies clubhouse, and we'll see how they're able to handle that going forward. I see Mally already in the comments, 6-2 in the next 8 games. Love to see it. And I saw one more. Was it Mullet? It was Mullet. And Mullet, I absolutely love this. The Matt Vierling Victory Tour. Instead of just squashing any good times. No. Embrace. That's what Doc would have been saying last night. Alec Boba's our third baseman. All right. We're not going on a Matt Vierling Victory Tour, folks. Love it. I mentioned Rhys Hoskins earlier in the show. I want to get this to you as well. Rhys Hoskins, after the game, dropped a little nugget when he was asked about facing I always want to say Alcantara. Doesn't make any sense to me. Alcantara. I think I said Alcantara in yesterday's show. Sandy Alcantara yesterday, about trying to work at bats against him yesterday. Rhys Hoskins talked about not just beating him, but being able to, I think the words he used are scratch and claw for a win. And then he dropped this little nugget as well. Here's Rhys Hoskins, the walk-off man.
I think more importantly, in division and against the guy that we knew it was going to be a grind today. Sandy's obviously doing what he's doing and making it look easy. And he had really, really good stuff again. We knew we were going to have to scratch it across a couple runs. Wasn't pretty, but it's kind of what good teams do.
That is exactly what good teams do. And that little nugget right there, hey, this Phillies team right now is looking at themselves in the mirror and they're going, we're a good baseball team. What we did before was not so good. We need to be a good baseball team again. And right now, and the proof is in the pudding, no matter who you're playing. You could talk about playing the Dodgers like Rob Thompson, and we got them at a bad time. Fine. You can talk about getting the Angels at a bad time. They just fired their manager shortly after the Phillies fired theirs. So for me, it doesn't really matter at this point. You got to stack them wins. We talk about it all the time in football, playing once a week. You got to stack the wins when you can. Oh, you got an easy stretch here? Stack those, get those 3-4 wins. Put them together right now. Every sport, you got to do it. Baseball, in the division especially. When you have struggled so much going into this 8-game stretch, you got to take care of your business. And right now, Rhys Hoskins and the rest of this Phillies ball club, they're looking at themselves and they're going, you know what we got to do? We got to start stacking them wins. You know how we're going to do it? By being a good baseball team, because that's, in reality, is what we believe we are. And, hey, they get pitching like they got from Aaron Nola. They get pitching like they got from Zach Wheeler the other day. They get Zach Eflin turning it on. They get guys like Kyle Gibson, hitting a stride, hopefully, at some point. Yeah, then guess what? This team is going to do some good things because this lineup will produce. And I said it weeks ago that I had confidence that at some point in this season, the Phillies were going to make a run to give us confidence in September. Or I should say late August, that it was going to be a meaningful September. The one guy I'm still looking at here is Nick Castellanos. And again, he got the day off yesterday, which is fine. Give him a breather. He said yesterday or 2 days ago in his locker that he just felt like he had all this pressure on him. He felt like he hadn't produced. He felt like he was pressing at the plate. Rob Thompson, we played it for you yesterday, talking about Nick Castellanos' approach. He was like, hey, what do you got to do to get Nick Castellanos going? Good question. We're trying to all figure that one out right now. But if they're able to do that and then still get contributions from guys like Matt Vierling, then this Phillies ball club is going to give you those games as you need so desperately in September. And that's what I just can't wait for. So Phillies back at it, 7:05 start time tonight again at Citizens Bank Park after the 3-2 victory last night against the Miami Marlins. Phillies now one game over 500. One of the difficult things about the NBA Finals is flipping back and forth from the Phillies to the NBA Finals, Phillies to the NBA Finals. Try to follow everything. It drives me nuts. And in the third quarter, Al Horford hit a three at the top of the key. And let me first go with my overall point before I go into that whole shenanigan, all those shenanigans. The Celtics hit that three and they went up. I have seen some conversation around social media regarding rooting for the Boston Celtics. As a Sixers fan, are you rooting for the Boston Celtics? I've seen that question out there. I just want to, I hate doing this. And before the show, I was thinking about whether or not I really wanted to get into it, but I'm going to do it. I've said before that we award stupidity in our culture. Somebody says something stupid. Everyone, look at this. Look how stupid. Meanwhile, the person that said the stupid thing is like, yes, pay more attention to me. Okay. And that drives me crazy. I hate that we do that in our culture. And it's not just our culture. When I say the culture, it's pretty much world culture as far as I'm concerned. I mean, like, you even look over in like London, a place that like birthed the tabloid. And it's like, yeah, people, stupid stuff, people pay attention to it. Yeah. So how does this relate to sports? Well, one, I think it's stupid if you're a Sixers fan and you're rooting for the Celtics. Now, let me be clear. You're not stupid, but I'm saying it's stupid to root for the Celtics if you're a Sixers fan. Even if you didn't grow up with Doc and Bird strangling each other which I did. I grew up with that picture. I knew that picture from a very young age. I was a little tiny kid when it happened. I don't even think I could walk yet, to be honest with you, but it happened. And that's lovely. But no way, shape, or form, even if you didn't grow up with that image, should you be rooting for the Celtics. The Celtics, as far as I'm concerned, are the Dallas damn Cowboys of the NBA. I don't need them. You can talk about the Lakers. Hey, the Lakers have a much more starred history than the Dallas Cowboys. But as far as the Celtics go, you may hate the Cowboys. Like, everybody hates the Cowboys. Guess what? Everybody hates the Lakers. But when it comes to the Boston Celtics, in no way, shape, or form will I ever root for, pull for, or in any way, shape, or form be happy for that organization to do anything positive. And here's the salt on the open wound. Sure, Jason Tatum, I'm one of the believers that said, yes, he could have been a 76er. Oh, there's no way they make that trade. Well, then Jerry Colangelo needs to be the slime ball that he actually is. Or Brian Colangelo, excuse me, needs to be the slime ball that he actually is with the high collars and everything. And be like, oh, yeah, I'm totally going to take Markelle Fultz. Danny Ainge, totally going to take Markelle Fultz. And then, switcheroo, you take Jason Tatum. I like the people, and again, I'll go into that argument real quick. I love the people that be like, oh, there's no way if he would have said he was taking Jason Tatum, you're not making that pick. There's no way you're making that trade. Well, dude, yeah. I like how their argument is totally built on the idea that Brian Colangelo is some, upstanding citizen and a man of his word. Okay. That's an adorable thing to think, but all right. So the Celtics, obviously, they have Jason Tatum, and they have Ime Udoka, who was on the Sixers bench for a couple of years under Brett Brown, and by the way, was at one point the highest paid assistant coach in the NBA. And instead of moving on from Brown and keeping Udoka, the Sixers obviously decided to make it one more year. In the NBA bubble is where it all ended. And then they brought in Doc Rivers. So that's fun to watch, especially after a year where you watch Drew Holiday and a guy that I know multiple teams passed on him, but I don't think any other team had two players in the first 11 picks in the year Giannis Antetokounmpo came out. Like the Sixers got, who was it, Nerlens and Michael Carter-Williams? So the Sixers essentially passed on him twice. So I don't think any other team did that. And, of course, Giannis was right there for the taking, and Drew Holiday and Giannis Antetokounmpo just won an NBA title a year ago. The thing that pains me, and the reason I bring all this up, is because anytime I watch the Celtics have any amount of success, nowadays it's not just going back to the Bird, Dr. J, at each other's throats photo, from that historic game. No, it's not just that anymore. It's the fact that the Boston Celtics are in the NBA Finals before the Sixers. And the Boston Celtics did not go through what we went through as a fan base. And hey, such is life. That's not fair. But it makes me ever growingly impatient to make sure that the Sixers not just waste the prime of Joel Embiid's career, as we hear all the time, but don't make those 4 years an absolute waste for me and you, the Sixers fan base. That was an investment of our time to get a greater outcome than what we have seen before. And so far, we haven't gotten that greater outcome. Oh, but it worked. The Sixers got Joel Embiid. Okay, we're not talking about a tank. By the way, I love when I talk to myself. We're not talking about a tank. We're talking about a process. Years of tanking. There's no one player, at least not right now, that is worth that. Yeah, Michael Jordan is worth that. Sure, Steph Curry, he's worth that. LeBron James is worth that. But right now, with what we have seen with Joel Embiid, as much as I love him, and he's great, and I think he's been snubbed for the MVP, we need a little bit more to justify what those 4 years did to us as Sixers fans. And most of us embraced it. All right, we get it. We're in basketball purgatory. Build something far better than that. And now you watch the Bucks pass you. Hey, LeBron went to L.A. Like, all right. And LeBron's great. And the Warriors were still having their run and still having their run today. They're one win away from winning a championship. All right, fine, they're going to have the run. But the Bucks pass you? The Celtics pass you? Are you kidding me? Whenever I get asked about anything about, order of importance, like I was the other night with my man Pat Gallen, to me, the Sixers and what they do with this offseason is the most important thing in Philadelphia sports. Because Joel Embiid's not getting any younger. Neither is James Harden. And he ain't getting any cheaper either. I fear the long-term deal that they might end up signing him to. Hopefully, hey, look, he said he'd take that more or less hometown discount. Let's see how true that is when push comes to shove. But what are they going to do with Tobias Harris? What are they going to do with this Danny Green rumor that they're shopping their first-round pick in Danny Green to try to move up or maybe get a player to help really complete this whole cycle? That'd be great. I want to see him do it. Speedy recovery, Danny Green. I just don't have a lot of confidence right now because all the pressure in the world is on the Sixers. The fact that the Celtics are even 2 wins away from a championship despite losing last night and watching that game play out the way it did. I went, oh my God, Al Horford hit that 3. Are they really going to make a run here? And no, the Warriors were right there to take care of business. By the way, that was an absolute push-off on Klay Thompson. I know Marc is smart, flops, but that was one that he should have gotten. But Thompson ended up hitting that 3. But for me, anytime I watch the Celtics, especially when they're playing deeper in the playoffs than the Sixers are, when they're in the NBA Finals, and I haven't seen the Sixers in there in 20 years, that really grinds my gears. It's painful to watch. And then I got to see questions on top of it. Oh, are you a Sixers fan who's rooting for the Celtics? No! Why would I? I saw one argument, oh, well, the Warriors will just win again, so what's the fun of that? Root for somebody else. No! I'd rather the Warriors win again than the Boston Celtics win anything. Absolutely not. Well, Ime Udoka was a good assistant coach. So what? He's a Celtics coach now. James Tatum's a pretty good player. I acknowledge he's a good player. I don't have to be happy about it. He's donning a Celtics jersey. Isolated, take the jersey off and just watch him play. He's great to watch. Everything else, no. Just to address that issue. And then the other thing, God, come on. Al Horford's siblings have drawn attention. Anna Horford invites it in. And damn you people for making me talk about this. But like I said, this is us. I include me in the you people. Damn it. Why do I got to talk about this when I know it's a sticking point for a lot of people. It's a conversation point. But I don't care what his siblings think. They're good siblings. They're defending their brother. Good for you guys. Beautiful, beautiful family. Lovely. Anna Horford, I don't know if she still does. She used to have a picture of all her siblings on her Twitter. We've gone back and forth on Twitter a couple of times. Nicely. Nothing like controversial or anger. And I'm not angry tweeting to anybody. But she had a lovely picture of all her siblings. They're beautiful, wonderful siblings. They're supporting their brother Al. What do you expect? I'm not giving any credibility to them as far as their judgment on how the Sixers should have handled the situation. Their brother signed a contract. I've interviewed Al Horford. The thing he kept going back to when I said, wow, you already had Joel Embiid here and you want to play here because you're a center too. And he's like, well, they paid me. More or less was what he said. And Anna Horford even pointed out on social media saying, well, my brother had 109 million reasons why to go to Philadelphia. That's fine. Then you've acknowledged that it wasn't about fit in any type of scheme or offensive set or defensive set or anything like that. It was about the money. And you know what? I give a lot of what's his name? Rory McIlroy about the guys playing live golf, all that stuff. He said, when you make a decision based on money alone, it tends not to work out. Well, it didn't work out for Al Horford. And I thought, why am I paying attention to this? They're brothers and sisters. They're saying what they should be saying. Good for them. I don't believe they're right from a basketball standpoint. I think Al Horford got paid a lot of money to play in a place he knew he wouldn't fit. And I don't even think it was more so because of Joel Embiid. I think it was more so Ben Simmons. You couldn't have Ben Simmons, a guard, in any league. Even if Chris Paul decided he was going to go into the lane every play and that was going to be his only offensive set or his only offensive play, it would be a problem if you had DeAndre Ayton and Joel Embiid. There's a lot of guys clogging the lane at that point. That's what didn't fit. And overall, I blame Ben Simmons not developing his game. And this isn't hindsight. In the moment, I said Ben Simmons has got to develop his mid-range game. If you're going to have two big men on the floor at the same time, Ben Simmons can't be crashing the lane. He's got to learn to shoot from the outside. Not three-pointers, raining down and all that stuff. Mid-range game. That's it. Just take that step. He didn't. And look what happened. Pitiful. So I don't look at Al Horford and go, oh, man, Al Horford, I hate that Al Horford. No, I wish him well. Good for you, bud. But the sibling stuff, they're doing what they're supposed to be doing. The thing that did bother me was his brother talking about basically how wonderful Boston is and how classless Philadelphia is. I think in the world of social media, I think the world of social media has done Philadelphia a little bit of a favor in that people used to think it was just us being a bunch of bastards, bunch of assaulting people and all that stuff. And thanks to that whole Howard Cosell showing the Santa Claus clip to the world. But anyway, social media has shown that guess what? Unfortunately, there's jerks everywhere. Not just Philadelphia. Hate to break the news to some people. Not just Philadelphia. Boston has certainly been outed. New York has certainly been outed. San Francisco has certainly been outed. Hell, Utah has been outed. Like, you could go on with this list. Everybody gets called under the carpet. Now, Philadelphia, it happens, and we're the tale as old as time. Everyone was talking about how terrible we are as a fan base. But the minute you start saying that, like, trying to put Boston in a positive light, just do a little bit of research. And you'll know that's not accurate. And I'm not attacking the city of Boston. All I'm saying is they're just like everybody else. They're not that great. They're not rolling out a red carpet and cheering on their players. Oh, this is so beautiful. You do such a wonderful job. No, when they're bad, they let them know it. They say some other vulgar stuff too. That's what pissed me off. It was like, oh, Philadelphia, again, is the only city that has a bad rap. No, it's pretty much everybody. And that's what kind of pissed me off, is when you put our city in a bad light. We've done it on our own, numerous occasions. I'm not denying that. But when you start comparing fan bases, like, that's where you start to get in a lot of trouble. Because you haven't done any research, basically. Like, if you looked up Adam Jones, maybe, even Kyrie Irving, who played there in Boston, and Boston fans weren't so nice to him. And Kyrie called him out afterwards. Yeah, tell me again about how, like, perfect Boston is. Yeah, okay. That's the only thing that really pissed me off. Everything else was annoying until I read that. I went, okay. Well, that's stupid. Anyway. Everything else was, hey, siblings supporting a sibling, whatever. And then that little thing about Boston being so damn great, yeah, I don't think so. And that's funny because I do love Boston. I do love going to Boston. I enjoy my time in Boston. I got friends in Boston. And they know what's up. Just like I know what's up here in Philadelphia. And why is that? Because we're not that different. Anyway, let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen, about the great people at Destination Retirement, particularly my man, Mike Seibert. Mike Seibert, a retirement income certified professional at Destination Retirement LLC and a proud partner of 1847 Financial. He's an advisor for Eagles, Sixers, and Flyers. Well, maybe next year the Flyers. But this year, absolutely the Phillies. And when it comes to long-term savings, why are you giving up the current enjoyment of your income? The answer is to have income streams in retirement. It only makes sense then to understand how retirement income streams work so that you can direct savings in ways that give you the highest income when you retire. Think of it like climbing a mountain. Is the objective to get to the top, or is the objective just to get to the top of the mountain and then down the mountain safely? Going up the mountain is your accumulation phase of your financial life. Going back down the mountain is your distribution phase. These are the two different phases of your financial life, and each should be addressed separately. This month, let's talk about college planning. We all know college is expensive. Well, have you ever thought about how it will affect your retirement? Let Mike show you an efficient way to help pay for your kid's college education and still retire on your own terms. Your first step is to avoid starting your growth cycle over again by depleting accounts like 529s for big expenses like college. You don't want to lose your position on your growth cycle and have to start over. You can't get that time back. Instead, set yourself up for the ability to use vehicles that you can take money out of without starting your growth cycle over again. Find out how your annual retirement savings can help your college savings and how your college savings can help your annual retirement savings. Mike will set up your own portal and retirement analyzer and use that software to help you navigate through the different phases of your financial life. For questions or to set up a meeting with Mike, email him at gobirds@1847financial.com. That's gobirds@1847financial.com. Or call his office at 484. That's 484-275-6035. That's 484-275-6035. You can also visit his website at destinationretirement.com. And as always, go Birds and let's go Phils. How about Steven Singer Jewelers, the other corner of 8th and Walnut, right there on Jewelers Row? You want to get treated like family? You go to the other corner of 8th and Walnut. You go see my man Steven Singer of Steven Singer Jewelers, where you get the perfect price guarantee. Other people, when they walk into a jewelry store, they feel like, oh, it's another big purchase. Let me see if I can negotiate this down. Let me see how low I can get it. Maybe you try that at other jewelers, because they're marking things way up just to mark it down a couple of bucks, but still make out more so than Steven Singer when it comes to that huge markup. You know why? Because Steven sets everything at the perfect price. He already puts it in as if you've negotiated. It's already low. Trust me, when you go to other jewelers, they do the same thing. They mark everything way up just to mark it down a couple of bucks. Oh, make this guy feel like he won something. No, why go through the rigmarole? Why go through the BS? Go see my man Steven Singer at Steven Singer Jewelers, where you get the perfect price guarantee every single day. That's what you get. And you also get treated like family by a real jewelry expert who will walk you through all the beautiful, dazzling diamond inventory at Steven Singer Jewelers. So do what I do. When it comes to your jewelry purchases, check out my man at the other corner of 8th and Walnut. Go online at IHateStevenSinger.com. That's IHateStevenSinger.com. Look at all the beautiful, sparkling jewelry that they have. And pick out that perfect piece of jewelry for that perfect someone in your life. I Hate Steven Singer Jewelers. One place, one price. The other corner of 8th and Walnut at IHateStevenSinger.com. Going to roll right along. No guests today, but when we do have guests, they're brought to us by the great people of Rothman Orthopaedics. When you have an orthopedic issue, you need a physician who eats, sleeps, and breathes orthopedics. You need an exceptionally specialized Rothman Orthopaedics physician. They not only specialize in orthopedics, but each of their physicians only focuses in on one area of the body, which means you can have the confidence to get past the pain and be what you were. Visit them in one of their 30-plus locations in Pennsylvania and New Jersey, including 4 orthopedic-only urgent cares. Learn more at RothmanOrtho.com. That's RothmanOrtho.com. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're watching the show, you've seen this logo before. Check it out, Versus Game app. Download it to your phone right now. Here's my question this week. Last week, we asked about the Flyers. Are they still going to have their 5th overall pick by the end of last week? They still have their 5th overall pick. So the people that answered yes, you won yourself some money. The Versus Game app question right now, download the Versus Game app to your phone. Follow at Farzy Show and answer this question. Bryce Harper, been hot from the dish. Will he have more than 3 home runs? So will he hit 4 or more home runs in the next 8 games? Yes or no? Will he hit more than 3 home runs is the question. On the Versus Game app, follow at Farzy Show. Yes or no? It's always binary. It's always this or that. It's always one or the other. Will he hit more than 3 home runs over this 8-game stretch that the Phillies have? Log on to the Versus Game app, download it to your phone, and have yourself a good time. How about Freestone Farm CBD? FreestoneFarmCBD.com. Oh, these guys are amazing. The best CBD brand. They farm it themselves with all organic inputs, and they offer you some education along the way as well, so you know what you're getting in the product. And I'm sure you've tried a lot of CBD brands, but honestly, Freestone Farm CBD is the best. It's great after working out. It's great when you're just trying to relax at the end of the day. It's great when you want to really take a more natural approach to what you're putting in your body. What's even more exciting, our friends at Freestone Farm CBD just unveiled an all-new strain menu, which is just supremely good. FreestoneFarmCBD.com. You can also get 20% off upon checkout. You like CBD? You get 20% off. FreestoneFarmCBD.com when you use promo code Farzy. That's promo code Farzy for 20% off Freestone Farm CBD. You'll love their tropical tasting Bayox that clocks in at a chart-topping 24.1%, and Super CBD, which is half Hindu Kush, and 21%. The genetics of these guys are off the charts. Oof, so good. And all their premium hemp flower is grown in the Garden State with organic inputs and IPM. There's absolutely nothing synthetic from farm to jar. And after harvest, they carefully preserve all the plant compounds with a perfect 3-month cure. Just one look or smell is enough to know it's CBD done right. Log on to FreestoneFarmCBD.com. That's FreestoneFarmCBD.com. Use promo code Farzy for 20% off. That's FreestoneFarmCBD.com. How about PHL Sports Station, Philadelphia Sports Station, enhancing your Philadelphia sports fan experience across all social media and blogs. That's PHLSportsStation.com. Let's jump into our chat check, ladies and gentlemen, see what you have to say. Kevin, good morning. April, good morning. April, that Phillies game yesterday was exactly the game they needed. Because if they lose that game yesterday, even if it's by the narrowest, I mean, by 1 run, they lose that game. All right, it was the 9-game winning streak a fluke. They've lost their last 2. They lost to the Marlins again. Oh, man, what do we do? All right, when do the Eagles kick off? Streak begins again, says Mullet. Hey, what do you do when a winning streak is snapped? You start a new one. And hopefully that's what the Phillies are able to do today. Mullet, again, I love the Matt Vierling victory tour. Mickey Diaz. What's up, Mickey Diaz? Good morning to you. Mally, good morning. April. Nice to see you again. Here we go. Mally, Harper, 4 home runs over the next 8 games. Okay. Hey, look, I was thinking about it. I was like, man, I'm asking this question to last 4 days. Because you have to set a time on the question on the Versus Game app when you set it. So I'm like, what if it's 2 tonight? But hey, that's the dice roll, folks. That's the dice roll. Oh, Mally, thank you. Half Hindu Kush, baby. Yeah? You like it a Hindu Kush? Mally, we need a Freestone Farms review. Ask April. I knew they were going to be a hit once we brought them on the show. Jim Grasmeter, what's up? April, I'm more of a THC guy than CBD, but I got you. There we go. That's good. Look at us. We're helping each other. And April, once again, congratulations to your daughter on doing well on her midterm. How about that? Oh, April also sent me something on Instagram that I thought was interesting because I assume because I love fishing. Michael Jordan had a big is involved in a big fishing thing down there in the Carolinas, if I'm not mistaken. And he was holding up a ginormous fish, and it was like, this is out there, man. This is off the coast of the Carolinas, and it just looked like a good time. And it's like, I think a lot of people do this, and Michael Jordan just happens to be one of them. That's pretty cool. I see MJ out there on the boats, but that is pretty awesome. April, totally unrelated, just in case anyone was wondering, MJ is oh, this is what you were talking about. Okay. MJ is also good at fishing. He's down here for a tournament and just bagged a huge mahi. I always have to pause before I read that. The man is good in just about everything. Yeah, you know what? He also makes a tequila now too, which is just about everything. Like, I think if you're not making tequila, you're basically nobody. Is basically what's happening there, which is unfortunate. Jim Grassmeter, Phillies get to really dangerous if they can get an actual center fielder that can lead off. Yeah, Mickey Moniak has been a little underwhelming. But here's what I know. Under Rob Thomson, I feel like now Mickey Moniak isn't leading off, of course. He had a hit yesterday. But I think it's similar to what we've been watching with Bryce and Stott. They're going to get those stretches where all of a sudden they hit a couple home runs, they hit a couple doubles, they get on base. And when they do that, you'll see their confidence start to really grow. And that's what I'm looking forward to when it comes to the young guys on this Phillies lineup, when it comes to Mickey Moniak, when it comes to Bryce and Stott. Bryce and Stott's helped win you a couple games. And I think he's been a godsend as far as infield is gone for this team. And thank you for not putting him in the outfield. Jeez. But I think what you're getting right now are two guys that you're going to watch develop and, more importantly, get the opportunity to develop. Because as time goes on, I think Rob Thomson, Bryce Harper will be a champion for these guys. Nick Castellanos will be a champion for these guys. I think once that happens, I like the idea of bringing the younger guys along more now under Rob Thomson than did under Joe Girardi. I think for whatever reason, and again, this is from what Nick Castellanos said, and this is from my own opinion personally, but in that clubhouse, it seemed like the young guys felt like they were on a short leash. And if they messed up, they were out. That's what the vibe was, apparently. You look at the numbers, they kind of match up well, I think, with other players' injuries and trying to put people in at the right time. And Bryce and Stott got that opportunity. Mickey Moniak is getting that opportunity now that he's back from injury. But bottom line is now, I think under Rob Thomson, they feel like they don't have as much pressure on them to perform immediately. Walking into a difficult job and knowing you have a little bit of leeway takes a huge amount of pressure off someone's shoulders in any line of work. Can only imagine what it is for these guys that are finally realizing their lifelong dream of making it to the big leagues and knowing, all right, I can strike out here. I can make a mistake in the field here and there, but I know I'm going to get that leeway. Some people, when they know their back's up against it, they perform better. Other guys, they need to know, hey, I can't be on a short leash here. Like, I need to know that I can make one mistake. It is baseball, after all. Like Tommy Green highlighted the old cliche yesterday. When you talk about, baseball, you're talking about a game of failure, and they're putting you in the Hall of Fame. Same thing. Well, then allow me to fail a little bit. And I think that's what they're doing right now with Bryce and Mickey Moniak, giving them those opportunities. Odubel Herrera did start yesterday, but he started in right field. Mickey Moniak was in center field, so hopefully you get a little bit more production out of those guys. And I will say this, as much of us, we're not really rooting for Odubel Herrera. If you just talk about a guy who's playing for the Phillies right now, and I hate that 270 is like the new 300 batting average, but he's hitting 276 on the season with a couple of homers. So it's at least good to see the Phillies are getting production out of that spot for them. The other thing that happened in yesterday's game that I want to get into, let me just check the chat one more time. April, they seem to be working around him, which works when everyone is hitting, but when they hit a cold spot, Mickey needs to step up. I would agree with that, April. Mally, I'm going to give Mickey a little bit more time. He's just getting back for real. Yeah, me too. I'm not jumping off the Mickey Moniak bandwagon by any means. Look, it's spring training, but he still did that against big league arms, yet they were still warming up. Everything, there's a caveat. I get it. But for Mickey Moniak, a guy that we're just looking for any semblance of positivity for, any semblance of hope that he can put something together. Hey, look, great spring training, out of his mind spring training, got the injury immediately, sent him back down to the minors. Now he's looking for his way again in the major leagues. So I am going to give him some time. And that's what I think Rob Thompson's going to do as well. But that was our chat check. Ladies and gentlemen, let's get into our morning rush brought to you by Sky Motorcars, skymotorcars.com. Here's where we're at for the Phillies today, ladies and gentlemen. The over 500, 31-30 Philadelphia Phillies, 7:05 start time tonight against those Marlins. This is what I'll look at as a trap game for the Phillies. Zach Eflin's on the mound, okay? That been a decent pitcher. I'm not worried about Zach Eflin right now. What I am worried about is Trevor Rogers, the left-handed pitcher that's going for the Marlins today. And why am I worried about Trevor Rogers? Because we shouldn't be worried about Trevor Rogers. That's why I'm worried about Trevor Rogers. This is a guy that you look at and you go, Phillies should take care of business against this guy. 5.58 ERA on the season. All right, Phillies should get this guy. They could beat Alcantara. They could beat this guy. These are the games I worry about. Now, if the Phillies have captured some magic, if the Phillies are in a position where they can continue to get some magic from Matt Vierling, maybe Bryson Stott steps up today. Maybe it's Mickey Moniak's day. Maybe Reese Hoskins got another walk-off in his back pocket. Whatever it is, not that they should need a walk-off. This is a game that I want the Phillies to win 12-3. I want this to be a no doubt about it, feeling confident about it by the fifth inning. I got this game. Kyle Schwarber's got a home run. Bryce Harper's got a dinger. Nick Castellanos is out there hitting bombs. Like, this is the game they should put together and give you a lot more confidence. And that's exactly why I look at it like a trap game. Like, on paper, this is a game that they should dominate. This is the game I worry about. Alcantara is a game I look at and I go, it's going to be a tough one, but maybe they pull this out. This one I look at and I go, they're going to lose today. That shouldn't happen. But this is the game that I feel like the Phillies are going to go, oh, all right. Well, we had this in the bag. Then you step onto the field, and guess what? You didn't have it in the bag. This is another game where I hope Rob Thompson, and I'm sure he does it every game, he has a message to the team before the game, what they want to do, the overall gameplay, get deep in counts, whatever it might be, how much action they want on the base paths, all that stuff. This is a game that I think Rob Thompson just needs to say this. Never look past an opponent. We've been playing great, but we're not a great enough team to look past anybody. Go out and do exactly what you're supposed to do. They're supposed to win big today. All right? You're supposed to be able to beat up on a pitcher like this. Go out there and handle the business. Don't do anything that is you taking this game for granted. Don't look past the opponent. And I know the Phillies know in their heads that they can't do that they're not a good enough baseball team to do that. But right now, please, for the love of everything holy, do not look past this pitcher today. Lefty always gives the Phillies trouble. This guy has not had his best year. This is an opportunity for the Phillies to just dominate another game, like they did multiple times. A couple of 10-0 wins they had on that 9-game win streak. Being 10 of your last 11, winning 10 out of your last 11 is still pretty damn impressive. So is 11 out of your last 12. Keep that going. I know the Braves they just won 12 in a row. Acuna got injured yesterday, but they still won their 12th game in a row. So they've been red hot. Keep pace with this team so that we still have those meaningful games in September. Zach Eflin does get the start today for the Phillies, like I said. Looking at his last couple of starts, Zach Eflin has had two decent outings as far as runs go. He had the 8-inning shutout performance against the LA Angels, that 10-0 win. He pitched one of those games. And then, of course, he against the Milwaukee Brewers. Didn't last very long, only 4 innings, but still allowed just 1 earned run. So not too bad. 1 earned run in those last 12 innings of work. And we'll see what he's able to do today. Hopefully the Phillies can keep this going. Thanks for watching. Oh, Flyers. Wanted to get this in the morning rush, brought to you by Sky Motor Cars. Flyers down to 2 guys. John Tortorella, Barry Trotz. Both fiery guys, all right? Tortorella probably being slightly more fiery. Careers that have been similar with 1 Stanley Cup championship. Tortorella won like 20 years ago, almost. Barry Trotz won, 4 years ago? 5 years ago? With the Washington Capitals. Finally helped Alexander Ovechkin get his Stanley Cup championship. The Flyers should hire Barry Trotz. Selfishly, as a guy who really looks forward to playing you coaching tirades, the Flyers should hire John Tortorella. What's interesting for me, though, is that both these guys at least seem to be interested in the job. There's reports about Tortorella and Trotz possibly milking this, like using the Flyers to up the ante for other teams, and that's part of business. But if that's not the reason they're talking to the Flyers, I find it interesting that both these guys pushing 70 almost. No, 60 and 63, I think, are the ages, with Tortorella being the older of the two. I find it interesting that they want to come to the Flyers, a team that I think is in near total rebuild mode. Why at this age would you want to take this on? God bless him for doing it. Trotz has something on his hand that I think is close to a situation, like almost like when he was starting up the Predators, for instance. Like, that's not an easy task to start up a franchise, essentially. He's going to have something similar here. Now, the reason I do want veteran guys is because I think they need as many hockey minds in that front office as possible to judge and evaluate talent. That's the reason that, like, Rick Tocchet, who I love and has been an assistant and been a head coach in the league, and obviously a hell of a player, as we all know, I worry about reverting back to the old Flyers ways of going to a former guy on the bench. But the saving grace, if they do go another direction, other than Trotz or Tortorella, which just seems unlikely right now, if they do go another direction, hey, at least I knew when they had a Flyer on the bench as the bench boss, they were pretty damn competitive. Now, you could say Ken Hitchcock wasn't a former Flyer. You could obviously say that Peter Laviolette, not a former Flyer, and he took them to the Stanley Cup, and Ken Hitchcock lost to Tortorella and that Eastern Conference Finals team all those years ago. It's unfortunate, but it's what happened. I think the Flyers do need to go outside the organization again and bring in one of these 2 veteran guys, because I don't know why they would want it, but if you can get these guys and you can get their minds helping this front office, then I think the Flyers are at least going to be in the right direction. So Trotz or Tortorella, I think the right choice between the two is Trotz, but Tortorella, I think, is a close second in that regard. And yes, I would enjoy the press conferences very much. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. My name is Marc Farzy, and this is the Farzy Show, presented by Destination Retirement, DestinationRetirement.com. This is a Buzz Sports and Entertainment production. We'll be back with you guys tomorrow, talking hopefully about another Phillies victory. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Have a great rest of your day, everybody. Take it easy.